Periquito squawks, Monito walks, Johnny Legend get thee to SoCal, Danny Wolf take the microphone, the real CMLL show should dump the 14-man cage match. We need Monito, Periquito, and the dancing Liger as a trio, in a three-way, in whatever. Those should be the stars of the CMLL anniversary show. Are you in agreement, Fredo?
I am in agreement.
Fabulous. I am Vandal Drummond, joined with my comrade, Alfredo Esparza. This is Slammin' Stand number 38. We have so much to talk about. We're going to chat about classic British wrestling. We'll talk about Periquito. We'll talk about Monito. We'll talk about the dancer in Jushin Thunder Liger. And we have a whole bunch of other stuff to cover. I guess we should go over the CMLL anniversary show, which is kind of lackluster compared to last year's. Also throw around some memories of the late, great Skandor Akbar. And it's been a while since we've been on, so at some point we should touch upon the Millennium Pro Wrestling show that had an amazing match on August 14th at Yankee Doodles in Simi Valley. One amazing match with Ryan Taylor and Brandon Parker, I believe, was his opponent.
I was just waiting to find out, to hear when you would finally make a mistake or something.
What's that?
I was waiting for you to make a mistake.
I was waiting for me to make a mistake, too, and I don't know what's going wrong.
You had a lot to memorize right there.
And you want to know something funny? I didn't even write any of it out ahead of time. Maybe that's a lesson for me. Maybe I should not take any notes. One of these nights I should, take a cue from Brian Alvarez and Vinny, and we should do our own version of their Christmas show, and I should down a couple of cold ones and see what I'm like, slightly inebriated, see if it makes it better or worse, and I'll know whether to turn to alcoholism or not.
It wouldn't make much of a difference, like with Brian and Vinny, they actually take notes and do stuff like that, during shows. They take notes for Raw and TNA and all that other stuff. You don't take notes.
Yeah, this is true. Well, I notice at times I do take a few notes here and there. I don't do it often. But I notice I'm trying to read and think and speak at the same time, and, it's a deadly trio. Not deadly, but awkward trio.
First thing we actually have to talk about is, before we talk about the anniversary show.
Yes.
The biggest news of the past week was Demus 316 moving up from the minis division to heavyweight.
Oh, so he was the one who won that bout, huh?
Yeah, he won a bloody match against Periquito.
Oh my God. Okay, so he is the official luchador. There was going to be the stipulation match where the mini who won the match would get to be a standard luchador. He is no longer a mini.
No, he's not a mini anymore. He's a big guy now.
That sounds almost like a commercial jingle, like he's not just a mini anymore.
They should do that "I'm a big boy now" song.
Yes. In fact, that's, I think, probably what I was thinking of.
That should be his intro. Have him watch.
That'd be a great intro. Speaking of which, I really liked the Journey to the Center of the Mind music you played as our bumper music tonight.
So you've heard that song before, right? I've
heard the song before, and I have to confess, even though I'm a huge 60s buff, I don't know who the artist is.
Amboy Dukes.
Oh, the band that Ted Nugent started out in.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I was like, I had heard it before, and I was like, man, this is interesting. So I looked it up on YouTube, and I thought, Ted Nugent.
Oh, wow. Well, I think Ted Nugent should really, take the message of that song and take a journey to the center of his mind. I think it would do him some good, personally.
You go back to doing that. So what'd you think?
Yeah, that would be rocking.
What'd you think about a mini finally moving up and becoming a big guy now, a big heavyweight now?
Well, I think they should do it with a lot of the minis because, I look at the minis and I think back, I turn the clock back 20 years and I think of the minis back then, and they were all very mini, and they were all very good workers. And now the minis have just turned into lightweight wrestlers, and so just, I know a lot of people would object to this, but I dug how Mexico used to have weight classes. I'd love for them to bring that back the way they used to. I thought it was very cool. I know a lot of people think, oh, too many titles, too many this and that, but I personally thought it rocked.
Well, the thing, there are too many titles, but, I mean, they have a title for every division, so it's like, why not just get rid of one? Instead of having, like, the CML heavyweight title and the CML historic title. And
I remember when I was a kid, though, I think two places that had the different weight classes and had, titles for each weight class were Mexico and England. And I remember when I was a little kid reading the Lucha Libre mags, and then when I was a teenager reading the British Ring Sport magazine, I totally dug the whole concept of, champions in different weight classes. And it didn't seem to take the edge off the... I think it's one thing if, like in WWE, they have so many titles that every wrestler can feud over, but like I remember one of the guys who dominated the lightweight class in Mexico was Rosado Ruiz, who, was more functional as a tag team wrestler, but it kind of made him stand out, and you never saw him wrestle the guys in the larger weights like Mano Negra or the heavyweights like Connect. You never saw those intermingling, and I don't know, there's always a cool mystique, that it held, like, at least for me who read the magazines.
In Mexico, at least you could have like a welterweight headlining a big show, like you would have like Nero Casas versus El Dandy or, for some middleweight title. It wasn't always like the heavyweights. In fact, the heavyweights aren't even that big of a deal. It's not a major title. It's just like, now it is, but back then it wasn't like the big title back then.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think of the,
like Rayo,
the strongest champions that have the greatest legacy are the people like Santo and Gory Guerrero and Blue Demon. None of them were heavyweights. That's
and I think now with Demus 316, they should actually do that again. Like have some. Well, the bad thing is they're probably going to just. Well, he can't because they'll put him in with like the lighter weight technicals. So it should work. It should be fine for him.
Yeah, we should see how it is.
He's only 5'3".
I'm stumped at the anniversary show.
You know what I think they should do?
What's that?
Should do instead. Like they should actually do like a reversal type of thing where like if a guy, they should have a tournament where the bigger guys, the one who loses has to go return to the mini division or something.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah,
I could dig that. That would be great.
Somebody just like make it seem like a big deal, like have somebody actually lose and go down. Or the women's division. Oh, God, forget that. The anniversary show, speaking of the anniversary show, how many of these guys are in the cage match, man?
I heard it's 14.
Yeah. I think
it's the annual... It's the anniversary show. I mean, It sounds like such a throwaway card. It's like last year was Negro Costas and Mystico. I mean, I remember going back to when I first started watching Lucha on a regular basis. That show was like,
You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to stretch it out for the month. Because they're going to have like Mystico versus somebody else down later. I think Volador Jr. And then they're going to have another week. They're going to have somebody else, a tag match between two other guys. Different things every other week. So
True.
Like they used to do. They used to do that. They used to actually do it like for a full month.
Wow. I thought, the biggest disappointment, though, for CMLL, just as far as me sitting in my fanboy perch, was throwing away the Mystico Rudo turn. That was so awesome. I thought they were starting to get so much momentum. I thought it was the worst promotional move made all year. It was the greatest promotional move to turn him Rudo. If somebody had told me before he turned Rudo that was going to be the plan, we're going to turn Mystico into a Rudo, I wouldn't have thought much of it. I would have thought, oh, yeah, right. I was shocked at how he just took the ball and ran with it. He was so hot. And then, boom, it's gone. They just stopped it so abruptly. And I have no idea if it was on Mystico's part, on the promotion's part. I've heard different theories bandied around, and I don't know if any of them hold water, but that was the worst move I think CML made of 2010.
Well, they've done pretty good the last month and a half. So
yeah,
they're doing something.
Yeah,
right. They're actually figuring out stuff. Well, I credited it all on the Parrot and KeMonito feud.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I credit all the turnaround I credit it all on the Parrot and KeMonito.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. That's the coolest thing.
That whole thing with the Parrot's working.
I love the video clip you posted on Facebook. Mm-hmm. Monito and Periquito trying desperately to get at each other. I would love to see a one-on-one match with them just to see what they try to do, just to see, I'd just love to see one of them take an arm drag.
An arm drag, okay.
Yeah, especially Periquito. I guess it would be a wing drag in that case.
Uh-huh.
But, yeah, I dig these cats. I want more mascots.
They have a lot now. There's like 4 of them, so it's like they keep adding. I think they're going to keep adding more and more. We're going to have like 4 or 5 different additional new mascots for everybody.
And the other cool thing you turned me on to is the Ross De Lona footage of Jushin Thunder Liger doing the dance.
Yeah, that's a really good dance, too.
I dug that. It's so funny. I mean, I don't know what he is saying on the mic. As people know, I am still Spanish challenged. My Spanish is still very limited, but just his persona is so comical when he gets on the mic.
He said it in English, too, so he said it like in 2 different languages. So
wow, then maybe I'm English challenged and don't know it.
He said it.
There's so much I don't realize about myself.
Well, you're busy looking at the dance. That's what you were distracted by the dance.
That dance rocked.
Yeah.
Jushin Thunder Liger.
Don't you wish you would have known he did that dance? You would have asked him at WrestleReunion to do that dance.
Yes, I would have.
You would have paid like $40 to have that on video.
I would have paid $40 just to be able to get video of me dancing with him. That would be so cool. No, I'd pay $80 to get video of him dancing with Pimpinela. That would be money. That would be something to post on Facebook, and it would spread rapidly like wildfire across the internet, like nothing before.
I don't know about that. Then you'll have the people complaining about Pimpinela.
That's right. Well, if they can't appreciate his brilliance, then that's their loss. That's what I have to say.
Well, I'm just amazed at his dancing skills. So.
Oh, yes.
Let me get some of the other callers on the line.
Oh, do we have somebody calling?
Yeah. It works. It's not working. There you go.
Have they abandoned us?
No.
Hello?
TNS.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Hello. Who is this?
Hey, it's Larry. How you guys doing?
Larry Park, how are you?
I'm all right. Been up since 2 a.m., but I'm okay.
Oh, my Lord. So let me ask, when you've had sleep deprivation, does it wear you out, or do you get the second wind where you get wired and have these little flashes of brilliance?
It depends. It really depends. Today I had my second wind, so I'm okay. I'm all right.
Excellent. I was going to say, you sound fairly perky for somebody who hasn't had a lot of sleep.
Well, that's what a rock star will do, Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, hold on. There's a couple more people on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Bix is on.
I hear the Bixie Demon.
Hey, guys.
So we have Larry LaParca and the Bixie Demon from New York.
I thought it was Larry Park.
Oh, you're right. Okay,
Park.
I stand corrected. Pronounce it one more time for us, Bixie.
Larry Park.
Yes, that's it. Larry Park.
He got it right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or L-A-R-A. I forgot. Oh, Icliega? I forgot my Spanish. Fredo. How do you say Y? The letter Y.
Y?
Yes.
For what?
In Spanish.
Oh, are you talking about like the double L?
No, the letter Y.
Wow, it is pronounced E or something like that?
No, I is pronounced E.
Yeah.
Oh. I forgot my Spanish, too.
Oh, Lord.
We don't talk about this anymore.
Well, we're going to have Fredo start being our interpreter here. You're going to be interpreting 3 people talking at one time, Fredo. That would wear you out.
Caller. We still have one last caller, though.
Well, why does he have to interpret it? It always happens on blog talk shows. Nothing
This
new.
is true now. And now, who is this last caller?
You know, when I'm on hold and the first thing I hear out of Kurt is, we need more mascots in wrestling, I really want to hang up at that point. You know?
Now, Dan, you were the one who was going to let me be Becca's Blue Monkey.
I know you're going to be. Well, that's because you want to be a Blue Monkey. That's why you want to be.
That's right. I want to be her little pink bunny.
Yeah.
That's what I'm dreaming of.
So I'm not going to be as energetic as Larry because I'm out in the San Fernando Valley and it's hot as hell out here. So it's really bad.
Yep, we have the air cranking full time. Damn the electricity bill. We need a little coolness here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've had such a weird summer out here anyway. We only had like 3 weeks of heat, and the rest of the time it's been under average or whatever. So I'm not complaining too much about it. But I did read something today. Very rarely do I ever see something about professional wrestling. Usually, when anybody tells me something about professional wrestling, or I read something about professional wrestling, most of the time I go, okay, I believe that. Or whatever, because it doesn't matter what it is. It just always is that way. But very rarely do I ever read anything where I actually am shocked that I didn't know it. And I don't know, has anybody read the Lance Cade story in the New Observer?
Yeah, I've yet to read it.
No, I haven't.
I had no idea that Lance Cade was Black Gordman's son-in-law.
You didn't know
I
that?
knew. I forgot.
What?
I might have known it. I remember Tom from Death Valley Driver was under the impression that he was Mil Mascaras' relative, that he married, but that was I couldn't remember if I knew he married Gordman's daughter.
I never knew that. Oh my Lord! Dan, and of all people, Dan, I thought you and I would know something like that.
Yeah, I did too, but I went back and looked at it again, saying, did I read that right?
Wow.
But he talked about that, and I guess about Black Gorman Jr., who wasn't really the junior, was another relative.
He was his stepson, I believe.
Stepson, and whatever it was, yeah. But I was just shocked at that and had never read that before. The man who basically is, in some stories, I think it was Steve Sims said this, is credited with teaching Jake Roberts to DDT.
Did he really? I remember Black Gordman's DDT. I don't know what they called it, but I remember it just looking brutal. I mean, when he did it, it wasn't as spectacular as the later version of that Jake Roberts came up with. Yeah. But there's something really brutal. I mean, it looked like he just drove the guy's head into the mat.
Well, he probably just did. But I have some notes somewhere that Steve Sims in the old days before there was like Blog Talk and radio talk shows and everything would write out these tremendous tomes of about 30 to 40 pages. That would be news from Mexico and Japan and all this, and he would print them out on a little dot matrix printer with the brown paper that was perforated.
I remember that. He would open up a big old
envelope, and there was this perforated paper from Steve Sims with all this amazing information.
And he himself was like a human computer, just typing away at those things night and day. It was really impressive. He is such a catalyst for getting lucha history to us gringos.
Did these predate the Steve Sims faxes, or was this at the same time? Or
this predates that.
Oh, okay. So this is even before.
This would probably be, I don't know, Kurt, 90, 91?
If I recall correctly, he got in touch with us in 1991, just said, hi, I'm Steve Sims, and he wanted to just talk to us about lucha, and he kind of looked to us as the lucha specialists. And I don't think it was 3 months until he took that torch away from us and ran with it, because his research did ours to shame. I mean, he just really... I remember going to my P.O. box and just waiting with bated breath, hoping I'd get a Steve Sims package.
How long?
That sounded kind of funny. I don't know why, though. But
when did you?
No, I meant all his updates.
Apologize to Steve Sims right now. You apologize to Steve Sims right now. But no, I know what you're
Steve,
saying.
But I bet you do have a nice package anyway.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. But no, I used to get those great, you would get those great manila envelopes from him that would have all this information, and occasionally he'd throw in a magazine or a tape or whatever, and it was pretty amazing. You know, he's a very generous man.
He is. Steve Sims is a great guy.
Now, when did you guys stop doing Viva La Lucha?
Right after the nice guy Steve Sims drove us right out of the market.
Went right around
he
when
started putting out Lucha Libre weekly.
Yeah. Well, as soon as he started doing it, we basically were wise enough to know that we didn't have the resources and whatever to keep out that. We tried to do something a little different and make it that way, but back then it was really difficult to do a newsletter, as anybody will tell you it is, and you have to have a certain personality to do it, and that's why you look at guys like Dave Meltzer or Steve Sims. They had that drive and that push to do it, and so we stopped probably, I think we were finished about a year after the big AAA show out here.
Yeah, like late '92, if I remember.
Yeah.
And we were always both involved in so many different projects that I think we lacked the organization to keep it going, too.
And instead of doing it half-assed, we decided it was just best to stop at that point.
Exactly. And then a few years, the Internet was born, and we were able to just pretty much do the same type of thing, only on message boards.
Well, back at that time, a newsletter was the podcast, and now, or websites, or, all
and there were so
stuff.
many.
And there were, I remember back then, the big thing you would do is, if you had a newsletter, you would contact virtually everyone and offer to trade them. So you would get, like, Matt Marketplace from, or you get Evan Ginsberg's newsletter, or Georgianne Markopoulos used to always send us stuff. And everybody was always very supportive and very nice about it. It was just, actually, I used to get newsletters from the president of the Sabu fan club, who was Gabe Sapolsky. Still is Gabe.
Oh, my God.
But,
that was Gabe Sapolsky?
Yeah.
No
Gabe
way.
Sapolsky was the president of the Sabu fan club.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly. So, but there were easily, I would say, 40 or 50 newsletters around that time. Some great, some
not so
awful. Great. Some, whatever they might be. But that was a big time for it. There used to be just like in the Observer, there was like always a page of newsletter information, what was available for here or there, and,
Yes.
It was fascinating.
And I suspect, because I remember he had like a reader section where it posted everybody's wants, whether people wanted to trade tapes or, magazines and newsletters, that sort of thing.
Tracy Lord's videos.
What's that?
Tracy Lord's videos.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I remember one of my favorite stories was our good friend Pat Howard, Larry Rivera, said to me one time, he goes, there was some, I think it was Oregon, there was some place they had done, there was some local TV, and there was some very hot valet who a boob popped out while they were on live TV. And Pat says to me, he goes, I want so badly to try to find that tape, but I don't want to be the idiot that writes into the Observer and says, looking for a show where so-and-so's boob popped out.
I always think about Howard the first time we ever saw Reggie Bennett make an appearance when she was really buff and everything. And I remember, I think it was me, Pat, and Greg Regalado were just like, oh, my God, look at her. And I just remember the way Pat said it. He says, ooh, Reggie, you're in my dreams. As only he could say it.
Pat could always do that. I remember at Cauliflower Alley one year, there was Angelo Mosca, and he was going, Big Nasty, Big Nasty.
I remember that. Angelo Mosca was selling the raffle tickets for the belt.
That's right.
Pat Howard was yelling halfway across the room, Big Nasty, and Mosca's just kind of looking at him like, okay, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, Pat Howard rocks.
Yeah. Oh, I do want to throw a plug in while we're here, just for the fact that we did another MPW show out in Simi Valley a couple weeks ago. It was probably, I would say, from the artistic standpoint, probably the best show we've done from beginning to end. And we are going back there October 2nd. And if anybody is out in the California, Southern California area and wants to take in the show, or just wants to find out more about MPW, you can go to mpwwrestling.com.
Yes, this was a very well-paced.
You watched most of the show, so you were.
Yeah, the match I rave about was Ryan Taylor versus, was it Brandon Parker's the other fellow?
Yeah,
Brandon Parker.
That was one of the best matches I'd seen in a long time.
In a long time, and I'm almost scared to ask, was there a video camera there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ryan.
Oh, thank God.
Ryan,
you have to not just watch what a great technical worker Ryan Taylor was, but how he can work the crowd as a babyface.
Oh, I know.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
And it was like going back in time.
It was a very different kind of match, too, because up to then, you're doing a show in basically a bar. It's a bar show. And, you have women and you have comedy matches and you have brawling and stuff. And you wonder sometimes how they're going to react to what is just basically a kind of a straight Japanese-style wrestling match. And I'm very happy to say that the crowd that night reacted very positively to it.
Well, it was
very nice to see.
Well, it was not just a straight Japanese wrestling match, but he was selling with the facials of an American babyface, but getting the crowd behind him. I haven't seen anybody work a crowd cold like that in a long, long time.
Ryan Taylor's
Burns, right?
Star.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
No, I was just saying, you mentioned Ryan Taylor. I mean, he's been wrestling since he was like 14, 15, started with Jesse Hernandez. I think he's going to be the top star here in SoCal, not just MPW, but SoCal.
Oh, how old is he? How old do you think he is, Larry?
I think he's 20 or 21. I have to confirm that.
It's amazing the skill and knowledge that he has for that age. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, he works Japan. He does all these other things. And I really think, unless somebody really drops the ball, this is a guy that should, in the next few years, I'm not going to say be a big star, but at least should be known to a lot of wrestling fans.
Oh,
yeah, some of that hold-for-hold chain wrestling he was doing was even reminiscent of the classic Brits,
Yeah.
Oh, and another match I liked that night was Omar Slam Duncan versus Whiskey Fist McIntosh. I love that match.
I love Whiskey. Actually, I like them both very much. Whiskey Fist works that gimmick beautifully. I like that guy.
Oh, he does.
He's the drunken Scotsman is what he does, for anybody who hasn't seen him before. And Omar Slam Duncan wears a Harlem Globetrotters outfit to the ring and has one of the best afros I've seen in a long time.
Exactly. Classic afro.
Yeah.
And the match went just the right distance, too. Mm-hmm. Didn't go too long. A match like that, if it goes too long, can drag, but I think they paced it.
That's one of the things I know that, Cincinnati Red does the booking, and I help him out on that, and one of the things that we both really push for is that the matches, have to be the right length, and they have to flow one after the other, especially when you're working at a place like that where we had to be out by 10 o'clock. And we had like 8 matches to push through, and you want to give each match the proper time it deserves, but not every match needs to be 20 minutes, and you really don't want to do 20 minutes between a match.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest hindrance of a lot of indie shows.
Yeah,
in general.
I mean, some matches are meant to introduce people. Some matches are meant to push storylines. Some matches are just meant to be a match. You know? And people have to realize that not every, despite our good friend Johnny Legend's claim that every match was a main event, every match shouldn't be a main event match.
Exactly.
I don't want to sit through 7 main events. I'd rather sit through 7 really good matches that build.
Exactly. Enhance, don't steal.
I actually had a very special spiritual moment connected mystically to Johnny Legend this week.
Really?
Whoa, really? Do tell.
The ghost of Freddie Blassie was on my side. I was record hunting in the East Village on Tuesday, and I go into Academy Records, picking various stuff up, looking around, and by the listening station, they have a copy of Nothing But a Pencil Neck Geek.
Yeah.
The LP?
The EP, which I think is the re-release of...
Is that the one that's on blue? It's a blue disc?
This one's red.
Red, okay, it's a different one.
And, and they have, like, one of those clear plastic sleeves over it. and they wrote a speech balloon that says, if you open something like if you open a sealed record to play it here, you'll be sorry. And, I wasn't sure if it was for sale or whatever. I asked them because it didn't have a price label, and they said, nah, we have it as the display, by the listening station, for fun. But, the guy, he left it down there, and later I was asking about a record they had behind the counter, and the other guy said, oh, you can have the Blassie. So I got it for $3.
Oh, wow. That's great.
And sweet.
Very nice shape,
and one of the best things about it, one of the best things about it is they have a whole bunch of Blassie interviews on there. Talking about Mr. Moto and stuff.
Does that one have Blassie interviews? I thought Geek Mania was the one with the interviews. Which Johnny emailed.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I don't know. One of them has
a few weeks ago to say he was putting back out soon.
Yeah, one of them has a whole bunch of audio Freddie Blassie interviews, which is really nice.
I'm glad you brought that up, Bix, because I remember from before I knew who Johnny Legend was, I remember hearing Geek Mania, and thrown into Geek Mania were all these very like snippets from other wrestlers from the 60s on SoCal TV, like Ringo the Wrestling Beetle, talking about all the health food he eats, the raw cauliflower and that kind of stuff. and inserted in between each interview snippet he had, you'd hear all this very like spacey psychedelic novelty music that only Johnny Legend you could produce. And I didn't even know who Johnny Legend was, I think, till about 5 years after I heard it. But in hindsight, I always wish I had nabbed a copy of it. But yeah, he left a message on my voicemail about 2 weeks ago saying what he told you, Bix, is that he's going to be re-releasing Geek Mania. And anybody who digs old school wrestling interviews and anybody who digs just funky, psychedelic, artsy stuff, you got to check this out. This is probably, Johnny Legend's greatest release, along with all the compilations he did for Something Weird Video.
The thing that's weird about the Geek Mania is that I've never seen any record of it other than actually, wait a second, maybe not. There might be there might be a different version, because the only time I had ever heard of it was in the Meltzer Blassie obituary.
Well, as I understand it, there was when Freddie Blassie did the Nothing But a Pencil Neck Geek song for Doc, that was made famous on the Dr. Demento show.
Right.
For those who don't know, Johnny Legend actually wrote the lyrics to that song and recorded it with Blassie. Well, he started something called the Geek Stompers Fan Club, and I probably wouldn't have even been aware of it, except there were these cool T-shirts that you'd see a lot of fans at the Southern California wrestling matches wear that said Geek Stompers, and it had a big, mountain of skulls, beneath the logo. And when I was talking to some people said, oh, yeah, when you join the fan club, you get this shirt and you get a really cool tape of old interviews. And I suspect that's what they were referring to. In fact, the one time I did hear Geek Mania, it was at a friend's house who just had a cassette copy. So I'm wondering if it was something that was only released on cassette tape for fan club members.
Yeah, or that it wasn't like a Rhino vinyl.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Wrestling Media site, and I Bite the Song has looks like it has at least a couple interview clips.
Yeah, I Bite the Songs, I actually have a copy of that LP, and since I haven't had a turntable in about 20 years, I haven't listened to it, but I think somebody said that there's actually some audio of Blassie at some nightclub telling jokes about John Tolos and the Twin Devils.
Well, it says that some of the tracks are recorded live at the Blassie Bar.
Okay, that must be what they're referring to then.
Yeah. But one thing I didn't realize about Nothing But a Pencil Neck Geek until I opened it up and while I was on the train was that not only is it on transparent red vinyl, but it comes with, and the one that came with it was intact, not cut up at all, a cardboard Freddie Blassie mask.
Oh my God!
Oh wow! I remember those things.
Was it? Yeah, that's the oldest wrestling souvenir I have. The very first wrestling show I went to at the Olympic in May 1973. I bought one of those Freddie Blassie masks, and
they were like 50 cents, weren't they, Kurt?
Oh yes.
Wasn't it done to
they sold those as souvenirs too? Oh, I didn't know that.
I think they did. I think they did it to either taunt Blassie's big villain at that time, whether it was Tolis or somebody else. You know, they would sell these, and people would wear them at the shows to taunt the heel.
They had one for Blassie and one for Ernie Ladd, of all people.
Yeah, that's right.
But, the oldest souvenirs I have are the Freddie Blassie mask and the Blue Demon statue that my dad won for me at a carnival in Mexico City. Probably my two most treasured wrestling souvenirs.
A statue of who? Of
Blue Demon.
Oh, Blue Demon, okay.
Yeah. In fact, you can read about it on that Legends website that Scott Teal has. I wrote all about my dad scoring it for me at a carnival in Mexico City. It was like, one of the cool things is whenever my dad would take me someplace like that, he'd take me away from the tourist areas and, show me what, like, the real Mexico was like. And there was this booth at one of the carnivals where you tried to pop the balloons, and it was the old trick where the balloons are terribly underinflated. And the prizes you could choose from were statues of El Santo or statues of Blue Demon. And so I'm getting all my pesos out, and I'm clumsily throwing the darts at the balloons. And after a while, it seemed like the vendor was even like kind of feeling bad for me and started saying, "Más fuerza, like throw them harder." And so finally my dad just laid down a few pesos, took 3 darts, and just the physicist in him took over, and he popped 3 balloons, underinflated carnival balloons in a row. And I had my little Blue Demon statue that I, wrapped up in all my clothes, making sure it wouldn't break on the plane trip home.
If you break that statue, there's probably 3 or 4 kilos of dope inside.
Uh-oh.
Wait, where did I put it? Where did I store it?
Actually, nobody knows this, but Fredo actually has Blue Demon Jr. locked in his basement. I don't know if anybody knows that. Is that right, Fredo?
You probably wish I had him locked in my basement. He's scheduled to wrestle this upcoming Friday, so.
Oh, that's right, he is, isn't he?
On pay-per-view.
Yeah, I actually heard some good things about that pay-per-view, so it'd be nice to.
You're going to watch it, huh?
Yeah.
Are you going to watch it?
I don't know. It depends. I have to figure out what my cable bill is going to be next month. So I got. If I can, I will. If I can't, because my cable and my internet and my phone is all dialed.
Yeah, I'm missing all the cool pay-per-views this weekend because I am actually after work tomorrow taking the trek up north to witness some more roller derby at the Kezar Pavilion.
Oh, I wish I could go. I wish I could have gone to that. I would have loved to. I heard Danny Wolf was talking so much about that. You should really file a big report for us next time on that.
Yeah, I plan to do that. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that Saturday, then heading up north to visit my cousin Debbie at the White Pegasus Ranch, making a complete trip of it.
What's the White Pegasus Ranch?
White Pegasus Ranch. I have this totally rockin' cousin. She has a ranch with every farm animal, not only on the land, but storming through the house. It's like the coolest.
Oh, they better lock them up if you're coming up there. No.
What's that?
I said they better lock them up if you're coming up there.
Well, last time I slept with one of the pot-bellied pigs.
No offense to your cousin, but I swear to God, it sounded like one of those, the Wild Mustang Ranch in Nevada or something. That sounded like.
That's what I thought too.
It's nothing. It's nothing kinky. It's just a very spirited place where I actually shared one of the bedrooms with a pot-bellied pig. It was so cool. Most people have their dog sleep at the end of the bed. I had this big old pig there. It was so cool. And my cousin even said, now you can come home and tell Lena that you just slept with a total pig while you were away.
That's right. And halfway through the evening, the pig got up and said, will you get out of here? No.
I think all the animals were saying that to me while I was up there. Give me a quick boot, And the most amazing part is the house. Their house is spick and span clean. It's like you don't walk in there saying, oh, I smell farm animals. It's just like...
Yeah, but actually, we were talking about also. I noticed this Fredo on the the English DVDs, the English wrestling DVDs. It's very interesting because they come off of what's the wrestling channel over there called?
My battery's going on the cordless phone, so I'm going to go get the cell phone and call you back.
Okay, we'll be waiting for you.
Is it World of Sports?
Yeah, it's World of Sports.
World of Sports. And, there was an ad, because when I watched those commercials, I was like, I would give anything to have that channel.
God, yes.
And they showed this, they're doing it was All Japan Classics or whatever it was. And there's, in the ad, I don't know if you saw this, Kurt, but in the ad, there's clips of a match from the Olympic Auditorium.
With Pat Patterson.
Pat Patterson and it looks like Johnny Powers against Baba and Sakaguchi.
Oh,
wow! And I got to figure it's one of those North American titles they probably beamed back to Japan, where they would come out and they would do this. You remember how on occasion, like Baba and Sakaguchi or one of the guys would come out and they would do especially if there's going to be a tag title change, they would do a closed circuit or shoot it back to Japan to make it look like it's a big deal because it happened in America. And I figured that was one of them.
70 or 71, there was, I believe it was Sakaguchi who came in and won a fictional title from a wrestler called King Crow.
Yeah.
I can't remember what King Crow's actual name was. He was a Northwest journeyman. Oh, I'm going to go crazy trying to remember what his name was. But that I think was one of the first ones that they, fed over there to Japan.
I remember, I think it was in 74, and I'm not sure, it was Sakaguchi, and it wasn't Baba, it was somebody else, but they came and they beat, they brought in Karl von Hess and Otto von Heller to the area, and they gave them some tag team championship or whatever, and they did a closed circuit match in Japan, and the Japanese won that.
Yes, that's right. Usually that would be a showcase for the Japanese to kick ass on the foes. I think the last one they did that I can remember was in 79. I want to say Sakaguchi wrestled Bad News Koich. Mm-hmm. And I remember Ricky Shoshu and Inoki, I can't remember who they worked against. It wasn't the Devils. Again, I'm going to go crazy trying to remember who it was, but I bet you a lot of those are available on DVD. Oh, my God, Fredo, do you have any of those?
Of what?
The matches we were just talking about.
I probably do. New Japan
Classic.
He would have to go through.
Every time we all talk to him, we say, what's that in your DVD collection, Fredo? Can you make some for us?
He's interrupting. We're interrupting his reverie. He's trying to relax there or whatever. We're asking questions. So.
Well, one of the things, now I know several of us here have seen the DVD that featured Lord Alfred Hayes versus Steve Vidar, which I believe was I want to say maybe 1977 or 78.
Well, this is a great DVD, and Larry, I have to recommend this DVD because I'm fascinated by it now. I don't know a lot about British wrestling, but is it Slam Bam Jam, Fredo?
Yeah, Slam Bam Jam.
Well, don't sound so happy. Could we not be talking about this, Fredo? I don't know.
That's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. But he has, and I've been able to see. I've only watched one of them so far, but you have 14 or 15 DVDs of
24 now. There's 24 now.
24. That's awesome.
24 now of classic
British wrestling.
And British wrestling, and it's fascinating because they go on the round system over there, and yet they still do 2 out of 3 falls.
And what was funny is when I started watching wrestling, they actually used the round system here in Southern California for TV.
They tried it for a while. But you know what? I remember it not working so much only because the style for the California wrestling was different than England. In England, what they would do is they would take the first couple rounds that ran about 3 minutes, and they would do very technical stuff, and it was fascinating. Sometimes the crowd didn't even. It was like a Japan crowd. They didn't make any noise at all. They were just watching it. And then somebody would come up and win a fall, and that would end the round. and then the other guy would come up and even it up, and then they would do the final. But there's a whole different psychology to it.
Totally. There was everything from.
Stuff there.
Hello?
What?
No, I was just saying, Kamala did some stuff in England as the Mississippi Mauler.
Actually, there are a lot of guys that worked in England that they, that people don't even realize. I mean, actually, on the excuse me.
Dan.
Oh, you okay there, Dan? We don't want to lose you yet, man.
No, I broke up with my Blue Demon statue and all kinds of fog there for a second. On the very first disc, what is great is the very first match on there is Bronco Owen Hart against Marty Jones. And Marty Jones is a great wrestler that not a lot of people have seen unless you watch Japan or England. I mean,
yeah,
he was talk about a lineage here. He was trained by Billy Robinson, and he in turn trained William Regal.
Who is also on this first DVD.
Yes, he was an excellent wrestler, and he wrestled Bronco Owen Hart, and then they had Cowboy Bret Hart wrestling in the second match. And then, as what Kurt started to talk about, not Lord Alfred Hayes, but Judo Al Hayes.
Yeah, most people remember Lord Alfred Hayes from the WWF as kind of the prissy, commentator. But he had this whole legacy long before that. In fact, if anybody is into, art films, if you ever pick up Pasolini's Canterbury Tales, there's a wrestling match between Adrian Street and Al Hayes. I think it's in the first 20 minutes of the film.
Wow.
But what was so fun, because Fredo was the one who turned me on to this DVD, and when I saw Al Hayes working as a heel, I just sat there saying, "Oh my God, I had no idea."
He was amazing.
Great heel. He didn't even have to be over the top in any way.
He was this big burly bully, and it was kind of like that he could beat the face, pretty much straight out, but you knew that he was a bully and he was going to take shortcuts. And the way they were building it up on the DVD was that he had wrestled there for a long time, went to America, had been corrupted in America, and came back with this much rougher style. And he wore red, white, and blue wristbands.
Yeah.
And they billed him from the USA.
Yeah, these little subtle things similar to Gordiman and Goliath claiming to be from New Mexico.
And they would and also the referee would give penalties like in soccer, yellow card, red card, that kind of stuff.
I love that portion of British wrestling.
Yeah, it was fascinating, but he was an amazing heel. And I know what you want to tell about Kurt. Tell your favorite part. I know what it is.
Oh, my favorite part is at one point when he's just being a total heel, total prick, and he takes a powder from the ring, outside of the ring, and just some woman from the audience runs up and gives him this huge shove, and he just stands there and looks aghast at her like, how dare you? The way he sold it, and he didn't just sell it for a few seconds. Even like half a minute later, he just looks in her direction again like, what a rude lady. That is my favorite part of the match. I think it's
the woman looked like
that kind of
the woman looked like one of the Monty Python guys is what it looked like. When they used to go and drag, it was always like, she had a big a leopard spotted coat on and a do-rag and stuff. And it was really fascinating because I remember when Lord Al Hayes, the first time I saw Lord Al Hayes in the WWE, I had heard of him from reading the magazine, but I had never seen him, and I knew that he was working as a manager because I believe his knees went real early. And he, right after the Grand Wizard had died, with the WWF back then, there was a gap because there was always the Unholy Three. There was Albano, Blassie, and the Wizard. And the Wizard had passed away right before the expansion started in '84. And they did an ad for the WWF magazine, and Lord Alfred Hayes was doing the ad, and I thought, maybe they're bringing him in to be the replacement for the Wizard, to be the heel manager, to take his place. But then they decided for whatever reason to put him on TV and kind of turn him into this bumbling oaf character, which while I enjoyed his, and every once in a while when he was doing commentary, he would kind of heel out a little bit. But mostly, when I watch that now, as enjoyable as he was, in reality, they really missed the boat and wasted him. Because
they did.
Really,
they did.
He really could have been a great heel manager.
Well, in fact, I heard he did do a heel manager gig in Toronto at one point in the early 80s, and I think it was Ed Moretti telling me that he was just absolutely amazing. In fact, I remember what it was. Moretti had seen him on Tuesday Night Titans and was saying essentially what you were just saying, Dan, like, oh my God, they're wasting him. This guy cuts the greatest heel promo. It's like he gets heat instantly as a heel. And I heard he was quite the opposite from the, prissy little Brit that was on Tuesday Night Titans. I heard that he was supposed to be a hell of a shooter.
He was. Well, you could tell from watching that DVD. I mean, this is a guy who was probably about 235 or 240 at that point and was really bulked up. And, he came off as a bully, which is so different because one of the sad things about Lord Alfred during his time in the 80s and into the early 90s is you saw he was really chubby, and then he started to get really, really thin, and you knew he wasn't feeling well. And he moved even slower and slower. It became kind of sad to see him on TV after a while.
I actually saw him at Cauliflower Alley about 6 years back, and that was when he was confined to a wheelchair, and it was sad to see him. He
was
like
one of those guys who gave his body to the sport. He really gave his body to wrestling.
Yes
he
looked in, considering the condition he is in, he looked in pretty good spirits.
Yeah.
But it was, it was sad seeing somebody like that. I never really met him or anything, but he is one of those figures I was always quite fond of.
Yeah.
You know what I would like to see? I know there was, when he managed in the AWA, he did this manager versus manager feud with my hero, Bobby Heenan.
Oh, that's right. I remember he did do that.
Oh, no way. I didn't know about this. Oh,
Didn't he manage the Super Destroyer Mark II or the Destroyers?
He might have. That rings a bell.
He did. He also managed Billy Robinson in Canada, I believe. There's a promo I saw I think I saw it on YouTube. If I find it tonight, I'm going to post it.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
A hell of a promo. Oh, yeah. There's a cup of tea. It was great.
There's another character that really fascinated me on that DVD. There was the tag team match with Steve Regal and Robbie Brookside against what was his name, Blondie Barrett?
It was Blondie Barrett, though. They called him the Rock and Roll Express, Blondie Barrett.
And
who evidently still works in England.
Really? I'm surprised.
Yeah.
And so does Brookside, actually. Brookside still
does, yeah.
Yeah, I can believe Brookside still works, but I was, watching Barrett, and I was kind of thinking, it looks like somebody's probably going in and out of the business pretty quickly. But the guy he teamed with, Kendo Nagasaki.
The original Kendo Nagasaki.
That really intrigued me because when you look at him, he doesn't look that particularly intimidating, but he was kind of like a combination of The Undertaker and La Momia. I mean,
and they had that little weird English manager with him, George Gillespie.
Yeah.
And he was in it was kind of like a downtown Bruno guy. He was in an oversized jacket with a baseball cap, and evidently he was Nagasaki's manager for almost his entire career.
Yeah, Gorgeous George Gillette is what they called him.
Gillette, that's what it was.
Yes.
Gillette. But it was fascinating because this match had one of the strangest endings I have ever seen in my entire life.
I love this.
And first of all, I mean, it's amazing to see William Regal. He must have been, 18 or 19, do you think, Fredo, at that point?
I think so. There's another match where he looks even worse.
He's skinny as all get out, and he looks like one of the young bucks. He did at that point. And it was very funny because early on, I guess he got cut on his chin, and they blurred it.
Yes.
They blurred it so you wouldn't see it. But what happened was that they were tied up at one fall each, and all of a sudden, Kendo Nagasaki's mask was pulled off by Robbie Brookside. And Nagasaki, I guess, they were saying he had red eyes. I didn't know if he was wearing contacts or anything, but you couldn't see it. But he basically looked like any kind of Mongol wrestler you saw. He had a little tuft of hair in the back. whatever. And then he supposedly put Robbie Brookside, put like a hypnotic suggestion on him. And Brookside went back to the corner and attacked his partner, William Regal. And that caused them to lose the match.
I loved it. And I can't remember, he even cut Brookside even cut a promo afterwards. I can't remember exactly what he said, but like, no, I was put under a spell.
That's what it was. It was like, you put me under a hypnotic suggestion. You know.
Yes, yes.
But it was. I gotta get this DVD.
Oh, you gotta get this.
You gotta see this.
Amazing. Yeah. It's a whole different kind of wrestling, Larry.
Yeah, well, we'll talk, Fredo. We'll talk in a little bit about that.
What I loved about Britain is how they had these very classical, very technical wrestlers like Johnny Saint, Alan Kilby and all these guys, and then you have this high camp with the post-hypnotic suggestion. I just dig it, you know?
Or like Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, those guys, too.
Oh
exactly, yes.
Huge.
Yeah, you have these guys who are great technical wrestlers. And also, if you get a chance to see Mark Rollerball Rocco, who was really amazing. Rocco, excuse me. Was really amazing. And
a very young Dave Finlay.
That's right. I was just about to say that.
Mm-hmm. Fit Finlay actually, and he and I guess he and Marty Jones were feuded quite a bit. I'm looking forward to seeing those because they supposedly just had some knockdown, drag-out battles, and they were like tied. They were like tied like Blassie and Tolis or Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer for years together.
In fact, I haven't watched this match in almost 20 years, but I was looking through Fredo's list, and there was one DVD that has a match between Johnny Saint and Steve Gray. And I remember Fizzy and I used to watch that over and over. That was when I became a huge Johnny Saint fan. I encourage anybody to find that and look up that match, check it out. It's really, really hot.
And Larry, you get a big kick out of it because I believe, was it Kent Walton was the announcer? He sounds like somebody doing a British accent. And it's fascinating.
Right?
Like a stereotype
But it's very stereotyped. But when you listen to it, it's very funny because it's like, and then he throws him into the ropes, and then as he comes off the ropes, he hits him with the forearm. And then
That's right. And now the match shall commence.
Exactly. And it's very funny to listen to because it's a whole different style altogether. That you never hear them start screaming or yelling or doing any of that other stuff.
And it's so funny when the hypnotism is worked into the Kendo Nagasaki match, how he says it so matter-of-factly, like, oh dear, he's under post-hypnotic suggestion.
That's right. He says, oh my goodness, he pulls the mask off. He's not going to like that very much. That kind of stuff.
Yes, I love it. We need commentators like that. Totally.
Could you imagine that on Monday Night Raw? Could you imagine that on Monday Night Raw? Oh my dear, Kane's thrown a fireball at that.
I would pay $80 for a pay-per-view just to have. I don't care what the matches would be. Just have the commentator be like Kent Walton, like Commander McBragg.
Listen to him before I listen to Michael Cole. My goodness.
You're good for Michael Cole.
Wait, you want to hear something funny? Believe it or not, Michael Cole doesn't bug me, and that's because. Okay, when we're nostalgic, we talk about the greats like Gordon Soley, Dick Lane, and Lance Russell. Men with these golden tongues, charismatic individuals, but who never put themselves over above the wrestlers. However, if you heard the average wrestling announcer back then, one of my favorites was Rock Hunter, who commentating a match saying, when I was in the business, that move he just did was called a Russian leg sweep. Today that move is called something else. Or the Bruisers. I don't know who it was, commentating for Dick the Bruiser show, but they'd show a slow motion replay that was usually of the wrong, portion of the match, and they would say, we would like to point out we flew out the greatest slow motion analyst from Hollywood to bring you this clip, and so Michael Cole. Michael Cole doesn't bug me for that reason.
Well, if I may present the other side, and I'll let Larry get in, because Larry needs to get his licks in on Michael Cole, I know.
Totally, I allow that, totally.
But here's the thing is, if you go back to the territory system, you can count the really good announcers on one hand, mainly because they were the people that were either wrestling fans or the promotion brought in to do announcing. In many situations, they would grab the weatherman or the guy that did the 4 o'clock movie or whatever and make him do the announcing. And he always, in many cases, the announcer always felt that wrestling was beneath him and would really not put any kind of effort into it at all, didn't bother to learn the moves, didn't bother to learn anything, you know. I mean, a good example, and I know that people that live in Canada love old, what's-his-name from Stampede Wrestling up there, but I still think he's like one of the worst announcers I've ever seen in my entire life. Ed Whalen. That's who it was.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, he's just really, and here's the thing, was most of the time he would, you know, if he decided the angle was too violent, he would change it. He would start, you know, he would go counter against it. He would go rogue on the angle live on TV.
Like an announcer version of GQ Money there, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that oftentimes, here's the thing, is a lot of those announcers that we make fun of from those old days were doing this show under duress.
Yeah.
Michael Cole is not doing this show under duress. This is Michael Cole's living, and I understand that he, you know, that he basically has to do whatever they tell him to do on the mic on the headset. But I think that, you know, that's why it's like with this whole people talk about this. Is he heel? Is he not heel? He goes, but it's like my parents used to say. If I would go in and outside too much, my dad would eventually say in or out, in or out. And that's how I feel like with this heel Michael Cole. Either pull the trigger on that thing and do it now, or just drop it altogether.
But but I will not blame Michael Cole, the worker, for that, because as I understand it, he's doing everything that is put in his ear. There was no comfort room for announcers to you know, do their own play-by-play. Because one of the things I remember that they were criticizing him for, I want to say, was it the Shawn Michaels Undertaker match? Mm-hmm. Where he said nobody gets up from this move. And people were saying, and understandably so, that almost everybody knows that means he will get up from the move. Yeah. But I remember when Vince was the announcer, you know, before he owned the territory, he would say that every time a heel was putting their signature move on Backlund on one of the Madison Square Garden cards,
I know.
Adrian Adonis would have the sleeper on Backlund, and you know, Vince would go, nobody gets out of good night, Irene. And then me and my friends would look at each other and say, okay, in about 30 seconds he's going to say, but wait. And that's what he would do every time.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't really consider Vince McMahon to be a good announcer either. That's the whole thing.
No, but that's why I'm pointing this out, is obviously that's fed into Michael Cole's ear. This is how you do it.
Exactly. I mean, and because the thing with Vince was always one of the worst, because, you know, he sits there and goes, that's it, he's going to be pinned, and you knew he wasn't going to be.
Exactly. It was so predictable.
That's over. We're going to have a new champion. You know, it was all, and he always tipped it off. And when I first started watching wrestling, I go back. I can remember it's 1971, and what happened was when I was living in Baltimore, and the WWF had not been in the Baltimore area for quite some time, and when this new UHF station opened up there, they brought the wrestling in for 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoons. And in the beginning, the first couple months, it was a good time to start watching, because Bruno Sammartino had just lost the belt for the first time, and Koloff had just dropped the belt to Pedro Morales. And the first couple months, there was a guy named Bill Cardell who did the announcing, and he was really good. And then I could also pick up on the Washington UHF station a different show that was still the WWF, but it was done by I can't think of his name now, too, the legendary Ray Morgan.
Yes.
Announcer who was amazing. And both these guys were dropped in favor of Vince Jr. And if you watch those early, you know, and here I am, I've only been watching. I've seen wrestling. I never really got into it. And now I'm getting into it. You know, I'm a teenager and I'm watching it for the first time. And I'm maybe 3 months into this passion. And I already know that Vince McMahon is a horrible announcer.
And when the layperson knows it, that's bad.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but I mean, that's just, and that's why, like, for example, when I went to the taping of Raw the night after SummerSlam. And I whenever Daniel Bryan was out, I could look over, and Michael Cole was doing these giant silent movie hand gestures, like, oh, I can't believe, why do they ever do that, and I do understand. I would like to hear, here's my whole test of it. I would like to, I would love to hear Michael Cole just call a match without anybody in his ear.
I would too. I would actually like to see what he has,
Yeah, exactly.
I think he would be better than a lot of people think he would be. That's just my hunch.
He might well be. It's just, and I think that, again, it's unfortunate because, that's why that announce position has always been such a merry-go-round there. People jump on and jump off all the time. It's because of the fact that, you don't want to...
the umpire in baseball.
Yeah. Who wants to sit there and have somebody screaming in your ear for 2 hours?
Exactly, yes. One thing where I kind of have to hand the ball to all you guys. Larry, you had mentioned to me earlier about the passing of Skandor Akbar, and I hate to confess that I am terribly unfamiliar with the manager Skandor Akbar, but I've just been reading a lot of great respect people who have been saluting him since his passing this past week. And I'd love for all of you guys just to, kind of share your thoughts of him, because I think all of you are a lot more familiar than I am with his career.
And I'm more familiar with him as a manager than I am a wrestler, as opposed to him being a wrestler, although I've seen a couple of his matches. I know he was managed by Freddie Blassie at one point. We mentioned Freddie Blassie earlier. I don't remember how old I was, but when Bill Watts' UWF was here locally on Channel 13, when I first saw it, and I first saw him managing the big one-man gang and Bill Irwin and Bad Leroy Brown, I believed he was an oil tycoon. He played the role very well. He played the heel manager very well, to a point where, I remember reading correctly, he used to get death threats in Oklahoma and Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it.
Being Lebanese, it's funny, he's a Lebanese guy with a West Texas accent. He used to get death threats, legitimate death threats from people because of his heritage. That's how well he played his role.
Oh, he had a lot of guts, because also after the whole Iranian thing happened, he basically changed his nationality to Iranian.
That's right.
On TV, and it was always funny because, as you talk about, he had this big old Midwest Texas accent, and here's this guy with the cigar and the beard and the headdress on, and he's out there going, "Carry on, Eric," with this big old accent like that. I think the thing. I never saw him really wrestle either. I saw him in the magazine.
Neither have I.
And here's my bottom line with him. I have to respect him as a wrestler, even without seeing him, because the man hung with Danny Hodge.
Yes.
That's right.
He was, Hodge, broke originally. He feuded with Hodge, and then he turned and teamed with Hodge for years, and then eventually he turned on him again. And they evidently, I was reading in the Observer today, up until even 6 months ago, that feud was so well remembered in the Midwest that they had like some local indie show, and they had Akbar and Hodge in separate corners.
I believe it's on YouTube, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, exactly, and it's amazing. And when you listen, and again, you always hear these stories, all the guys that he helped break in, and let's face it, in most cases, with the exception of the Link and some other people, Devastation Incorporated, it was never really a really strong stable. There were never really there was basically a lot of guys that couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And they would, and what I liked about it was in the UWF, because I was watching him in the UWF, plus also KDOC out here was showing the World Class tapes at the same time.
That's right.
And one thing I liked about it was in the UWF, the heels wouldn't all cooperate. That is, Devastation was Devastation, and occasionally they would feud with the Freebirds.
Yes.
Or they would feud with Hot Stuff Incorporated with Eddie Gilbert.
In fact, my favorite memory of that was on the interviews. Michael Hayes would refer to him as Andor Snack Bar.
Yeah, Skandor Akbar. That's what they call it. Yeah, something like that. But those guys, he was just amazing in the stuff he did. He took these great wild bumps that, and you talked about when him coming into the WWF with Freddie Blassie. This is a case much like we were reading about how Skip Sheffield from Nexus had broke his ankle this week, and what a bad time for that to happen. Not that it's ever a good time to happen, but especially right now.
Yeah.
But Akbar had the same problem, and that is Akbar was supposed to be the guy to challenge Bruno Sammartino between Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody.
I never knew that. Really?
No,
and this is actually in the Observer obituary, which I speak highly of today. I was reading, and what happened was Hansen. That was the match where Hansen broke Bruno's neck. So Bruno, he never got his shot at Bruno, because Bruno was either rehabbing and then they were building it back up for the return match with Hansen. By that time, they figured his heat was gone, so they on the next Madison Square Garden show, they fed him to Ivan Putski in the semi-main instead. And that was about it. And it was out after that. But you talk about bad timing, but I think he and Bruno would have been a nice matchup, actually.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
In fact, after that, am I remembering correctly that after that run in WWF is pretty much when his managerial career started?
I believe so. I don't really remember. There's a gap. I remember seeing him in like Wrestling Review magazine and that stuff, and then there was a gap about 5 years where I really didn't see anything of him, and then I remember turning on TV and go, oh, well, there's Skandor Akbar.
Yeah, it's funny. I almost feel bad not being more familiar with him, because to be honest, I've always been more familiar with the journeymen who kind of go in to be part of a tag team and then a manager. The people like Jerry Brown or Mickey Doyle, Tony Rocco, Roger Kirby. I've always had even a greater fascination with those folks than I did, the main eventers, and I'm actually surprised I'm not more familiar with Akbar.
Well, it's interesting. There's a great picture I saw that's floating around that was from one of the WrestleReunions from the past 6 months, and it's Cornette, Akbar, Oliver Humperdinck, maybe J.J. Dillon and somebody else, but it was like it's like this meeting of the great managers, and it makes you remember that with each one of these guys that disappears, a whole different art form is disappearing. The great managers from the 70s and 60s and 80s are all passing away too.
Very true.
And since managers seem to be out of fashion these days, which I don't really understand why, I look at when I see Bobby Heenan as sick as he is, or I look at these other guys and go, God, soon these guys will be gone, and wrestling fans now won't even know what a manager is.
It's true. Yeah. No, managers are used. Well, I shouldn't even say they're used. I believe they're misused. I mean, the manager, as I, knew managers growing up, they were there to speak for the wrestlers who couldn't speak, to enhance the product. And now it just seems like sometimes I wonder if they know what they're there for.
Well, putting a pretty girl on somebody's arm doesn't really do it.
Right, exactly.
It makes them want to see the girl, but not so much the guy.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything to the story.
Yeah, and the whole idea of, and I understand somebody wanted to at some point in the '80s said, well, there's all these managers. Let's do valets. Let's do sports agents. Let's do something different. But it's fine. But what they've done is they've wiped out virtually all the managers now, and there's a lot of guys out there that could really be really decent managers and be really, really help. I mean, the first person I think of is Ted DiBiase. Now, the problem with DiBiase Sr. is he can't take any bumps, which a manager has to do at some point.
Yeah, at some point they have to get their payday.
But there's a lot of guys out there that could be managing. And
Ric Flair's doing a pretty good job in TNA.
Ric Flair's doing a great job. I mean, and I wish he would just do that.
Yeah, it goes through.
But I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, I'm thinking about guys like, one day when their knees give out or their hips go, which for most of the guys these days are, is not long for this world. But, guys like, and people may laugh at first, but guys like Kurt Angle and John Cena would make great managers.
Oh, that'd be excellent. Those guys
Yeah.
are, especially Kurt Angle, is magic on the microphone.
Yeah, and John Cena. I mean, I understand why they don't turn him, because the fact when you sell that much merchandise, and if you were at the Staples Center for that Raw taping, he and Randy Orton were through the roof with popularity. And I know it varies from city to city, but when somebody's still that hot after all these years, you just don't turn them. But the day will come and he'll get older, and like with Mick Foley, and Mick Foley's a perfect example. There's somebody that should be managing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I hate to wind this up so soon, but I got a lot of laundry to do for my trip and a lot of...
I never heard anybody end a podcast before because they had laundry to do.
Well, this is going to be the first time. I want to be the Pimpinela Escarlata of the household. I want to be the domestic goddess, baby.
Well, you go wash your blue monkey outfit. That's
right, and I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to vacuum the rug. Then I'm going to get my hands and knees and wash the floor.
There you go.
Studs up, and I'm going to roll around in them. Lucky Pierre will emerge.
Carl Stern would end a show like this.
What's that?
Carl Stern would never end a show like this.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, we got to do stuff like a Stern stick or something. Put you on an audio.
There you go.
That would be great. Yeah.
Could you imagine like Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez saying, "Well, Dave, I got a load of laundry to do, so I'm going to have to get going." "That's okay, Brian. I got to go get gasoline for the car."
Dave Meltzer has kids. You never hear him. "Well, I got to go. My kid's calling me."
Yeah. Well, remember that one podcast where his son ran into his room to show him a picture he drew?
Yeah,
that was awesome. That was so great.
What did he say?
Go, my son is putting the Gogoplata on the kid next door. I have to go.
No, it was like in the middle of one of the podcasts, and you hear Dave go, "Just a minute," and then you hear his little kid saying what he drew, like, "Oh, and that's a dragon, Daddy," and you hear Dave going, "Ah, that's really nice. Okay, now let Daddy do his radio show, okay?" I thought that was a great moment, actually.
That's perfect. Well, Kurt, we'll let you go ahead and do your laundry.
That's
make
right.
Sure you wear. Take pictures of it and make sure you wear the Lucky Pierre outfit.
You had to get me started, Dan. Now I'm going to have to find one of Elena's aprons, put it on. So in the next week or so, look on Facebook or on standtheembryo.com.
Oh, no.
And watch Lucky Pierre doing dishes. If Debbie could do dishes, so can Lucky Pierre.
Uh-oh.
Only really old porn fans will know that reference, but you know.
Exactly. Larry, Fredo, good to talk to you. Bix, wherever you are, good to talk to you, too.
Yeah, thank you, all of you.
It was fun.
And as always, thank you for manning the engine, Fredo. You rock. And we will all be in touch with you cats very soon. And remember, any of you walking through SoCal at night and you see a bright light streaking across the sky, it is not a shooting star. No way. It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder. See you in 2 weeks, my babies.
Aye, 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 aye.